Thank you for keeping it right here on CTV. This is Sunrise at Sea, and we are in the Twitter Jabs. My name is Apollo Sarah, and I am joined by Ms. Ellen Chiwumulo. She's a teacher, psychologist, and she's working with the task force to keep students in school, of course, in partnership with a number of government organizations and also private organizations. Today, we are going to be discussing and continuing our conversation from Twitter Jabs 1, where we were addressing the presidential, we were deliberating into the president's address in the reopening of the economy, with special focus on the reopening of schools. And we will be, diving in and having a chat and seeing, is it going to be sustainable? Because the last time the schools were open, and that was last year, they had to be quickly closed again. So today my guest will be giving us insight into seeing if this is actually sustainable and if it's going to work and what we're going to do about it. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on the show
You're
today.
Welcome.
I am glad that you honored our conversation.
Okay.
So let's dive right into it. You're a teacher and a psychologist.
Yes.
Is this sustainable? Will we be able to now, maintain our children in school, unlike the last time, early this year, early last year, look at me, early last year, 2021, when the schools were briefly opened and then shut down again?
Okay, now, good morning, viewers. And this is what I want us to know. This is what we discovered. In the last lockdown, we had around 200, for example, cases in school.
Yes.
Out of 2,000. So we all ended up being locked. And yet that 2,000 would really be contained in
Yes.
school if we had a system. Now in here, the Uganda National Students Association came on board and called upon us and different other organizations. Family Comfort Foundation. I'm a director of Family Comfort Foundation, and I've been through these COVID campaigns for some time. So they came on board, consulted us, and they were desperate to see why they have to keep in school.
Yes.
And this time they were also interested in, they were saying they also have a role to play to desperately keep in school because of the side effects that they got during the time when they were home. Because they're like, for example, in a very small research I did in the very early COVID, we looked at around 723 million girls who are not going to go back to school worldwide. Worldwide, and all of them are getting onto the task force, the workforce.
Yes.
And here we have, they got pregnant, some of them got pregnant, and we looked at a system whereby it's children who impregnated children and they gave birth to children.
Yes.
So already that is a rotten
it's a tricky situation.
We also had cases whereby fathers, relatives are, all those people,
were perpetrators in getting
they were part of the thing. So
yes.
Basically, on the women's side, it was something very wrong.
Yes.
Remember, it's taken us 20 years to raise the number of working women to 10%.
20
years.
Oh, wow.
To raise the number of working women to 20%. Now here with COVID, we've
gone back to zero.
Yes, we've gone back to around 3%. So here we desperately need these people in school. We desperately need the girl child in school, the boy child in school. We've looked at cases of the drug addicts and the like, so we desperately need them in school. And here, the students, the Uganda National Students Associations came on board and looked for some of us and said, yes, we desperately need to be in school, and we are willing this time to cooperate.
Yes.
I'm very happy about how the students came on board, and they also feel, yes, we can make sure we can observe the soaps, we can, we need to be in school, we shall have the sanitizers, we shall report cases, and they were in that.
Yes.
So when they came on board, we began brainstorming, and that's how the joint task force came in. Originally, they came up with a press conference with their press release, and they brought us on board Family Comfort Foundation, Mothers Union, Fathers Union, St. John's Ambulance, Scouts. They were very inclusive, looking at those people who can help them keep in school. For example, the mothers would represent. They've seen what has happened. We looked at the fathers who are very core because in impregnating girls,
yes,
male voices matter.
They do. They do.
They matter, but we've left everything to the women, which is
Sure.
wrong. So that's why we had to put the men on board. Then for the scouts, because this came in with a campaign, when they sold the idea and we joined into a workforce,
Yes.
joined to a task force,
Yes.
we felt among the things that can help us keep in school
Yes.
is constant vaccination.
Yes.
And we've gone ahead and actually constant vaccination, yes, but the constant testing is very basic.
Yes.
How are we going
Is
to
it
do this?
basic or is it very important? It's very necessary.
It is very necessary.
Crucial,
It's
yes.
very crucial because we can monitor the system in there.
Yes.
Testing is key. Testing has to be done at a certain, probably every fortnight, every week, whoever is coming in school
Yes.
should be tested. That is
Yes.
the first thing as people are getting into school. When the president said that people will go to school in 2 phases,
Yes.
because we were tired of looking at the children at home, we felt no, they would go back at once. But for us who are already in the research, yes, I would really side with the president.
That you go open in phases
in
because
2 phases.
that senior 1 to senior 3 go first, and
Yes.
then the rest follow.
Follow the next week. Why?
Yes.
Even on the starting date, we have to test.
Yes.
That is a lot of work. Because for the testing teams we've trained so far, they're not yet very, very many.
Yes.
And yet every school should be attached to a trained tasting team.
Yes.
We need many people on board to be tasted. We are calling upon unemployed healthy workers to come on board. And the fact that the numbers are overwhelming,
Yes.
we're also looking at scouts in schools. Because at least every
Yes.
scout
Yes.
has basic information about first aid.
Yes.
Those ones can help us go into the testing.
Is there going to be a training process for teachers or staff administration in schools to actually know how to handle this COVID-19?
Yes, that is there, but the basic people we are looking at are the healthy workers or the
Okay.
nurses.
Yes.
So we've gone to different paramedical schools to do the testing. May gave us some people.
Okay.
We taught them, or they learned how to do the testing.
Okay.
Personally, I've also gone through the process of learning how to taste.
Yes.
We've gone to, actually 6th and 7th, it will be Mengo Nursing School, School
Yes.
of Nursing.
Yes.
We are having those students to learn how to test.
Yes.
We have the Mengo Medicare.
Teaching the students themselves how to
Yes,
test.
how
Okay.
to taste. They have to learn how to taste because we are looking at emergency means of keeping people in school.
Yes, and keeping them safe.
Keeping
in
them safe in school.
Yes.
Meaning we have to go aggressively. We have to taste aggressively and isolate.
Yes.
Taste aggressively and isolate.
Yes.
Isolating them in school and tasting them in school is far better than bringing them home.
Oh, exactly.
Because you'll find that if a school has around 1,050 are
Sick.
sick,
Are infected, yes.
are infected, it's not logical to bring all of them
Back home.
home.
Yes.
Yeah?
And yet the situation can be
handled
contained in the school.
So what we are looking at, we can have, for example, mosques, churches are not very active on daily basis.
Yes.
Those can be isolation centers.
Okay.
There are classes which are also going to be put off
Yes.
to look at them as isolation centers. Actually, before we open, all the nurses, the school nurses, and the school dispensaries have to be well equipped with kits.
Yes.
That's when we are asking the Ministry of Health with kits, testing kits. This time we need them in abundance.
Definitely.
The advantage is, at least for a clue from the Ministry of Health was they have the kits in abundance.
Yes.
And they can provide.
Yes. But what about, it was stipulated that 80% of teachers have not been vaccinated, because now we are talking and giving emphasis to the students, but what about the teachers? And actually you find that it's the teachers that are at risk of actually, succumbing to, harsh symptoms of COVID-19. So what about the teachers? Are the teachers also going to get vaccinated at the schools?
Now, they have no choice but to get vaccinated. Actually, teachers in this case are more at risk
True.
Why? Because they are only, they could be around 15% of the whole of the general population.
Yes,
around 2,000 students who are not vaccinated. And it's the teachers who are vaccinated. So really, teachers are even more vulnerable in this other aspect of of these ones can easily infect them.
Yes.
Now, this is what I would think that stopping teachers from going to school because they've not been vaccinated, really, over 1,000 students or 2,000 who have also not been vaccinated.
Yes.
You know, I don't think that works for us. Because for now, we are not even very certain how many are coming back. We have a shortage in there.
True.
So I think would allow them get to school, then work hand in hand with them actually. As psychologists, we are called upon to prepare their minds and to make them love the vaccination. You know? To make them love the vaccination and to make them feel it is okay. You know?
Yes. There's a tweet that that CTV posted, and they did say several observers have called for and advised that cancelling of teachers and students be done ahead of schools reopening to recalibrate both parties back into the right learning mood. Schools were cleared to open on January 10th, 2022, according to the president's address. So are we indeed ready for the schools to be open? It's just 1 week, just 7 days. Are we ready?
Now, there is something. This is why are we making this project very inclusive? All of us have a role to play. For example, when the schools are opening, the first week is a week that the head teachers have to call the psychologists on board to prepare the minds of the teachers and the minds of the students. We don't expect teaching in the first week, really. It won't be fair. But preparing minds of people to probably get to know how they're going to go about the system in the next week. So teachers usually think that they have fellow teachers, they have people who can talk to them. But in this aspect, we need psychologists desperately.
True.
Now, we also need psychologists in the new normal. The COVID new normal is calling upon the employment of psychologists to prepare these children because it's a new normal. Now we campaign for every school to have a psychologist on board.
Yes.
At times, schools think, head teachers think, if they have the senior male teachers, the senior women teachers, they need it all. No, it's not all. Of course, I look at it from the point of a psychologist. Psychologists are desperately needed in school, especially in this new
era.
Normal.
Exactly.
We have to look at COVID as the new normal. Before, it was really big, but we are looking at COVID, the way HIV came in.
Yes.
It first overwhelmed us, but we learned how to live with HIV. Now here comes the whole situation with COVID. We have to learn to live with COVID, and closing off is not the solution. Locking down is not the solution, but the solution is understanding the concept of how we live with COVID.
Okay, and what about the other concern for a lot of parents? First, I would like you to please tell us how parents can play a part in keeping their children safe in school. And then number two, as a parent, we are concerned about the school fees. The school fees. The government did promise about 39 billion towards funding of private schools, but however, they have not, lived up to this obligation that they sent, or to this promise. So the school fees, because we are worried that a number of the schools are going to even, go as far as tripling, the tuition. What do you have to say about that? I mean, you're a teacher and you're a psychologist. Do you think it is fair? Do you think it's something that we just have to deal with?
Okay, now, as a teacher, I really have to side with the schools, with the head teachers, and what is taking place. First of all, if you asked about how parents will go about this, here we call upon parents to equip their children with the sanitizers, the basic sanitizers, then the masks. Then we also call upon their companies who can give us these other cans, because at this point, the new normal, we expect a can of sanitizers on every block or every class, because we're looking at how to handle the new normal. So we can call upon companies to
to donate
to schools that can help us keep in the new normal. Then you also asked about the
school fees.
School fees. School fees. I think everyone there is very attentive.
Yes.
Now I'll be fair as a teacher. Really, the fees has to go high. I'm also a parent of 3. I understand the situation very well.
Yes.
But COVID has also come in with its own cost.
Yes.
For example, if the government gave us the capitation grant, it's always never fully catered for,
yes.
and it usually doesn't come in time. So you realize that it's the schools that are going to cater for that bill. So we have no choice, but the fees has to go high because the COVID itself came in with a bill.
Yes. Though
there are things that we can learn there are things that can help us sort bills in schools.
How about the parents, chip in with say the sanitizers, the masks, and anything and every other thing. Put it on the school requirements, to make the fees structure look a little small.
You're right, but even then, as school systems, we cannot depend on the parents.
Yes.
We cannot highly depend on them. We cannot highly depend on them because they are with their own and off. Probably what you can do in schools, especially with a new curriculum.
Yes.
We can teach our students to learn how to make the sanitizers, the liquid soaps in there.
Yes, yes.
Then for the departments, what we can have sewing machines, and in there we can learn to make the masks ourselves.
Ah, that would be wonderful because then you're teaching the children, vocational skills in the school. They're learning how to take care of themselves, and they're also learning new crafts. That would be actually absolutely wonderful.
That is one of the ways we can probably a parent can come in with a skill of making masks and they sell it out to the students. They can donate sewing machines in there because you realize that much as we are talking of the Kampala schools, there are those schools deep in villages.
Deep in the villages, yes.
You realize that they may not be as swift as the Kampala schools. So in this joint campaign, parents, the fees will go a little high. Yes. But it's because of the COVID bill.
True. Exactly. So any last remarks as we wind up this segment?
Okay. Now, 7th and 8th, we have actually 7th and 6th. We are having, we are testing, we are teaching midway, we are teaching the Mengo nursing schools, the Mengo nursing school students how to taste, how to learn tasting.
Yes.
Then we are campaigning to everyone worldwide, to the presidents in different institutions or different institutions of learning, bring different healthy workers on board because we want it, by the time we open schools, when at least every district is attached to, actually, every school should be attached to trained personnel to taste.
Yes.
That is very basic. Then schools can also bring in other people on board. For example, probably the teachers. We are looking at the Scripture Union. We are looking at those clusters in schools that can help us.
Yes.
Actually, this other thing, we are very interested in the faith-based organizations because most of us have a belief. At least we have a belonging somewhere.
Yes.
The faith-based organizations can help us better in the campaign, We're calling upon the Muslim Supreme Council, the Christian unions, everything.
Yes.
So in church, please campaign for keeping students safe in school. You're calling upon everyone.
Exactly.
Actually, the task force is becoming bigger every day. So please join the cause. The Scouts are already on board and they've been very helpful in learning how to taste. The Scouts cover a big group of at least in every school.
Yes.
We have Scouts.
Yes, the Scouts Club and Girl Guides.
Yes. So those ones can be of very good help.
All right. So just very briefly, today the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health will be meeting to deliberate and strategize a clear plan of how the schools are going to reopen. Just 2 things. What would you want them to put into consideration? 2 key things.
Okay. Now we need funding for this project.
Yes.
Because all these volunteers that have been trained to do the tasting will need facilitation.
True.
So we need the funding. We are calling upon government, much as we began our initiative as students, began the initiative. They call us on board. Now this time it's not students in strike, but students want to keep in school.
Yes.
And this is a positive cause for us, for them, and they're willing to work with government. So government, please, we need you to come on board. Ministry of Health, we please need you to come on board. Avail the different kits in every school. Monitoring, we are willing to monitor ourselves in schools as students. Then even we need a monitoring system from the Ministry of Health. So we really just need to work hand in hand. The Ministry of Health, the students, the education, but the funding is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. As you heard it from Ellen Chiwumulo, this is a joint project and everybody has to get involved, from the students to the parents to the government organizations, religious institutions. Everybody has to get involved if we are going to beat this pandemic. And that is all I had for you on this segment of the Twitter Jabs. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea. Don't blink.